Something is shifting in your life right now, and you can feel it. It's subtle, almost invisible, yet undeniable. The patterns that once felt permanent are cracking. The routines that once defined you are losing their grip. And deep inside, there's a quiet awareness whispering, "This is the final step before everything changes." But here's the truth most people miss. The final step rarely looks dramatic. It doesn't arrive with applause or warning signs. It often feels like confusion, like delay, like pressure. Have you noticed that when you are closest to growth, everything seems uncertain? When you are about to level up, clarity feels distant. Why does the moment before transformation feel like instability instead of victory? Think about your journey. The setbacks, the misunderstandings, the silent battles no one else saw. You survived moments that should have broken you. You adapted when circumstances forced you to. You learned lessons you never asked for. And now, standing where you are, you sense that the story isn't ending, it's turning. What if the discomfort you're experiencing isn't punishment, but preparation? What if the doors that closed weren't rejection, but redirection? Sometimes the final step is not about gaining something new. Sometimes it is about shedding what no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Growth demands release. Release of old identities. Release of outdated expectations. Release of people who only understood the earlier version of you. That can feel lonely. It can feel misunderstood. But ask yourself this: can you step into a new season while holding tightly to the past? There is a psychological truth about transformation. Before breakthrough, there is tension. Before clarity, there is questioning. Before elevation, there is separation. It's as if life places you in a narrow corridor, stripping away distractions so you can focus on who you truly are. Have you felt isolated recently? Not abandoned, but separated. That space is not emptiness, it is refinement. When distractions fade, your inner voice becomes louder. When noise decreases, awareness increases, and awareness is powerful. The final step often requires courage that no one else sees. It requires trusting your growth, even when outcomes are uncertain. It requires discipline when motivation fades. It requires patience when results delay. Are you willing to move forward without guarantees? Are you prepared to act even when applause is absent? You may not have all the answers. You may not see the full picture. But you don't need the entire staircase illuminated, only the next step. And sometimes, that next step is internal. A decision, a boundary, a commitment to higher standards. This is the moment where many retreat. The pressure feels intense. Doubt whispers loudly. Old fears resurface. But consider this carefully if you have come this far. What makes you think you were meant to stop now? You are not at the end. You are at the threshold. The final step is not about proving yourself to the world. It is about aligning with your deeper principles. It is about becoming steady when circumstances fluctuate. And when you take that step, calmly, intentionally, without ego or fear, you may realize that what's coming next was never random. It was built on every quiet decision you made when no one was watching. There comes a point in every transformation where the external world stops giving you validation. The encouragement slows down. The visible progress plateaus. And you begin to wonder if you imagined the shift in the first place. This is where the real test begins. Not a test of talent, not a test of intelligence, a test of stability, because the final step is rarely about ability. It is about alignment. You've already proven you can survive difficulty. You've already endured uncertainty. But can you remain steady when nothing around you confirms that you are moving forward? Can you hold your vision without constant reassurance? That is where many falter, not because they lack potential, but because they crave immediate proof. Look closely at your recent challenges. Have they forced you to slow down, to reflect, to question your motives? When life narrows your path, it isn't always limiting you. Sometimes it is focusing you. When distractions fall away, you are left with one powerful question: who are you when no one is watching? The final step demands integrity. It demands that your internal standards become stronger than external opinions. People may misunderstand your silence. They may question your direction. Some may even distance themselves because they cannot see what you see. But growth often requires walking a path others do not yet understand. Have you noticed how your tolerance has changed? Things that once seemed acceptable now feel heavy. Conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. Environments that once felt comfortable now feel restrictive. That discomfort is not confusion. It is clarity. You are outgrowing what once defined you. But here is the challenge. Outgrowing something does not automatically mean stepping into something new. There is a space in between, a waiting period, a refinement stage, and this stage can feel like stagnation if you do not understand its purpose. Think of it this way. Before a structure rises higher, its foundation must be strengthened. Before a new chapter begins, the previous one must fully close. Have you truly released what no longer aligns with you? Or are you still holding on to fragments of familiarity because they feel safe? Safety can be deceptive. It can keep you comfortable while quietly limiting your expansion. The final step often requires stepping beyond what feels secure. Not recklessly, but intentionally. Not impulsively, but decisively. You may feel like something is ending, and it probably is. But endings are not failures. They are transitions. They are the clearing of space. When one season concludes, it creates room for another to begin. There is also a deeper layer to this moment. Your mindset is evolving. Your perception is sharpening. You are starting to recognize patterns, both in yourself and in others. You see manipulation faster. You detect negativity sooner. You sense authenticity more clearly. This awareness is not accidental. It is the result of everything you have endured. So ask yourself, are you resisting the change because it feels unfamiliar? Or are you ready to step fully into the person you have been becoming? The final step is not loud. It does not demand attention. It asks for courage in silence. It asks for commitment when results are invisible. It asks you to trust your growth process without rushing it. And once you cross that internal threshold, everything that follows will begin to align with the standards you chose in this quiet, decisive moment. Right before everything shifts, there is often a moment of deep internal confrontation. Not with the world, not with other people, but with yourself. The distractions have faded, the noise has quieted, and now you are face to face with the one person you cannot avoid, your own reflection. This is where the final step becomes personal. You begin to notice the habits that no longer serve you, the subtle fears you've been carrying, the excuses that once felt reasonable but now feel limiting. Growth has a way of exposing what comfort once concealed. And that exposure can feel uncomfortable. Have you been honest with yourself about what needs to change? Or have you been negotiating with your potential? The truth is, the next level of your life cannot be entered with the mindset of your previous level. The patterns that helped you survive cannot always help you evolve. Survival and expansion require different mentalities. One is about protection, the other is about intention. Ask yourself this: are you still reacting to life, or are you now responding with awareness? There is a difference. Reaction is driven by emotion. Response is guided by clarity. The final step often requires emotional maturity. It requires pausing before speaking, thinking before acting, observing before judging. You may have noticed that certain triggers no longer affect you the same way. Situations that once pulled you into conflict now leave you calm. Opinions that once unsettled you now pass by without impact. That is not coincidence. That is growth. But growth brings responsibility. When you see more, you are accountable for more. When you understand better, you are expected to act better. The final step is not just about receiving something new. It is about becoming capable of sustaining it. Many people ask for bigger opportunities, greater influence, deeper relationships. Few prepare themselves internally to handle those things with wisdom. Have you prepared yourself? Sometimes the delay you experience is not denial, it is development. It is life giving you time to strengthen your character, so that when the next chapter unfolds, you can carry it without collapsing under its weight. Pressure reveals weaknesses, but it also builds resilience. And resilience is not loud. It does not need recognition. It is the quiet decision to keep improving when no one is applauding. It is choosing discipline over impulse. It is maintaining standards even when shortcuts are available. You might feel like you are being stretched, like expectations are higher, like your tolerance for mediocrity has decreased. That is not arrogance. It is awareness. When you recognize your value, you no longer settle for environments that diminish it. The final step is often an internal shift from seeking approval to maintaining alignment. You stop asking, "Do they accept me?" and start asking, "Does this align with my principles?" That shift changes everything. And here is the powerful part. Once your internal world stabilizes, your external world begins to respond differently. Your decisions become sharper. Your boundaries become clearer. Your energy becomes more focused. You are no longer chasing outcomes. You are building foundation. So if you feel the intensity increasing, if you feel the internal pressure rising, understand this: you are not breaking. You are refining. The version of you that steps forward next will not be driven by fear, insecurity, or impulse. It will be driven by clarity. And clarity is the true threshold before transformation. Now you stand at the edge of what feels unknown. Not because you lack direction, but because you are no longer willing to move unconsciously. The final step is here, and it does not demand speed. It demands certainty. There is a quiet power in reaching this point. You are no longer desperate for outcomes. You are no longer chasing validation. You are no longer trying to convince others of your worth. Something inside you has stabilized, and when stability replaces urgency, everything changes. Think about who you were a year ago, the doubts that consumed your thoughts, the habits that distracted your focus, the reactions that controlled your behavior. Compare that version of yourself to who you are now. The awareness is sharper. The boundaries are clearer. The patience is stronger. That evolution did not happen by accident. Every disappointment refined you. Every delay strengthened you. Every misunderstanding taught you discernment. And now, what once felt like obstacles reveal themselves as preparation. So what is truly coming next? It is not just an opportunity. It is not just a change in circumstances. It is a new standard. The final step is the moment you decide that your internal growth will no longer be negotiable. That your discipline will not depend on motivation. That your peace will not depend on external approval. You begin to move differently. You listen more than you speak. You observe more than you react. You choose environments carefully. You protect your focus intentionally. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Have you noticed how your tolerance for chaos has decreased? You no longer entertain unnecessary conflict. You no longer overextend yourself to prove loyalty. You no longer sacrifice your well-being to maintain connections that drain you. That is not detachment. That is maturity. The final step is the shift from potential to embodiment. It is no longer about what you could become. It is about who you choose to be daily. It is the decision to live according to your highest principles, even when no one is measuring your actions. And here is the paradox. When you stop chasing what is coming next, it begins to approach you naturally. When your focus shifts from outcome to character, the right opportunities align with your standards. Not because of luck, not because of coincidence, but because clarity attracts alignment. This is the moment where fear tries one last time to speak loudly. It reminds you of past failures. It questions your readiness. It suggests delay, but fear often grows loudest when it senses it is losing control. You are not the same person who started this journey. You are more aware, more disciplined, more intentional. The final step is not dramatic. It is a quiet internal commitment. No more shrinking, no more self-betrayal, no more compromise of your principles. And once that commitment is made, the external shift becomes inevitable, not rushed, not forced, but steady. You may not see every detail of what lies ahead. You may not know the exact timing. But you understand something deeper now. You are ready. Not because everything is perfect, but because you have done the inner work. The final step was never about what is coming to you. It was about who you are becoming before it arrives. And just when you think the journey has reached its peak, you realize something profound. This was never about a single moment. It was about integration. The final step is not an event. It is a consolidation of everything you have learned, endured, and refined within yourself. You are no longer waiting for a sign. You are no longer searching for permission. There is a grounded confidence forming inside you, and it feels different from ego. It is quieter, more stable, less reactive. It does not need to announce itself. Have you noticed how your decisions are becoming simpler? Not because life is easier, but because your priorities are clearer. When you know who you are, choices lose their complexity. Distractions lose their appeal. Noise loses its power. The final step is the shift from questioning your path to owning it. There was a time when uncertainty made you anxious. Now it sharpens your awareness. There was a time when rejection felt personal. Now it feels directional, There was a time when delays felt like setbacks. Now they feel strategic. This transformation did not happen overnight. It happened in quiet mornings when you chose discipline, in difficult conversations where you chose honesty, in lonely seasons where you chose growth over comfort. These moments built the foundation you now stand on. And here is what many people misunderstand: when you complete this internal shift, life does not suddenly become free of challenges. Challenges remain, but your relationship with them changes. You stop seeing them as threats. You begin to see them as refinement tools. You are no longer intimidated by pressure because you understand what it produces. Pressure reveals strength. It clarifies priorities. It exposes weaknesses so they can be corrected. Without pressure, growth would remain theoretical. Now, as you approach what feels like a new chapter, you are not rushing toward it. You are steady, measured, intentional. You understand that sustainable change is built on consistent habits, not sudden bursts of motivation. Ask yourself this final question. If nothing external changed tomorrow, would you still respect the person you are becoming? That is the true measure of transformation. Not applause, not visibility, not material gain, but alignment between your actions and your principles. When alignment is established, opportunities feel earned, not accidental. Relationships feel balanced, not draining. Progress feels natural, not forced. The final step was never about predicting what is coming next. It was about preparing yourself to handle it with maturity. It was about strengthening your character, so that when new doors open, you walk through them responsibly. You have moved from reacting to reflecting, from doubting to discerning, from chasing to cultivating, and now, whatever unfolds next will meet a version of you that is ready, not because the path is guaranteed, but because your foundation is solid. This is what it means to reach the threshold. Not a dramatic ending, not a loud breakthrough, but a calm, unwavering decision to live with clarity, integrity, and purpose. The final step was internal all along.